Nearly 18 months ago, I made a video about quitting my academic position and moving to a new role in a large company. And today I'm here to answer the question, do I regret it?
A wave of resignation.
So-called Great Resignation.
Great Resignation.
In 2021, the phrase the Great Resignation was coined to describe the mass exodus of people from their jobs and was typically associated with the pandemic. The reasons for leaving are varied. Some people moved roles for more fulfilling work or better work-life balance, while others moved careers to find jobs more suited to their skills and values. A bit of background on me: in June 2021, I quit my job in one university and moved to another. And in December of 2021, I quit it again and moved industries and actually moved cities. And I've never looked back. In this video, I'll go through 4 things I learned by switching industries and what I'd do differently if I were to quit my job today. First thing, money. I learned very quickly that switching companies is the best way to maximize your earning potential. When I left academia, my income was a big factor in my decision. I know people think it's crass to talk about money, but at the end of the day, we all have certain goals and expectations that are tied to how much we earn, and we should get more comfortable talking about it. Wage gains for people who switch jobs outpace those who stay with one employer. Part of this is because in your current role, you're anchored to the salaries and the hierarchy or the ladder that is the cultural norm. And when you can leave, you can better navigate that. I also think it's because managers aren't good at factoring in the cost of losing people and hiring new starters when they say no to salary negotiations. With the current cost of living, I'm very happy I left my job and made income growth a priority. I do not regret that part even one bit. I'll tell you what I would do differently. Instead of thinking 1 job ahead, I suggest you think 2 jobs ahead. Does this next job get you closer to what you want, or does it just get you out of something you don't want? Those are very different things, and while I'm a big fan of exploring your options, it's helpful to have a longer-term plan that focuses on the skills and even the job titles you'd like to have in the future. That way, you aren't settling just for something new, but you're also thinking strategically about your future and where you'd like to be in 10 years. That way, you don't find yourself stuck again after the next role. The second thing I learned is that toxic people are everywhere. Obviously, I knew this in the abstract sense, but I was naive in thinking that the things I didn't like about people in academia somehow wouldn't apply to those outside of academia. And I was naive in thinking that changing roles would make my attitude way better or way different. And I've learned that my perspective is actually a big part of the problem. I'm very selective about the things that I'll get stressed about, and I struggle to connect with people when they stress out or panic about things that in my world don't really matter. And in my I Quit video, I associated that with apathy and not caring. But now that I'm better able to feel the full spectrum of human emotion, I realize that some people do just care a lot about things that in the grand scheme of my work life don't seem like major issues. And that's okay. I think it comes down to skills and personalities and the things that we actually get stressed about. But I've also had to make it clear to myself and to those around me that I make a difference between taking action on something and stressing about it. So at work, I take action, but that doesn't mean that it's going to cause me any stress. If I could do things differently, and I'm actually doing this now, I suggest you focus on your own attitude and not getting pulled into toxic people. Tell yourself over and over that you have no interest in complaining, and eventually you just stop complaining as much and you really enjoy your work more. The third thing I learned is pretty academic specific. People really don't understand how research in academia works. And that's not their fault. Academia is a siloed industry and we're not very good at sharing. Let me give you an example. At an event a few months ago, someone asked about my background and I explained I came from academia and we started talking about research and publications. And they then went on to tell me about a paper they'd published recently. I asked all the typical questions, only to find out mid-conversation that by published, the person meant they'd put it on LinkedIn and shared it at a sector-specific business conference. Now, I'm not trying to be snooty and be that academic that says, well, that doesn't count. Published just means something very different in my academic world. And especially where I come from, with the publish or perish model in business and social sciences, publishing even one 4-star or high-ranking paper a year is a pretty substantial achievement that can take years to get it through the review process. People don't really know that. Along similar lines, I learned that expertise is evaluated very differently. In academia, there are topic-specific experts, people who have researched a subject for years. And I'm obviously biased on my perspective here, but I do believe deeply in science. I was surprised to find that corporations don't always integrate or connect with research in a way that supports their goals. I see lots of snake oil selling consultants who base things on anecdotal evidence with little to back up their claims. And I don't see academics lining up to share their research in a way that is digestible and applicable to the corporate world. I know that academic knowledge is heavily gatekept behind paywalls. So I'm not blaming corporations for this, and I think academia has a lot to do to get their research out there. I also learned that I'm much happier working with a team of people who all have similar goals. In academia, except for maybe your co-authors, you're the only one who knows and owns your stuff. Sometimes I miss that model because I was accountable only to myself. And then, of course, bureaucrats and reviewers and students and whatnot. But when it came to my research, I could write and explore and think about whatever I wanted. And that's great when it's going well. But I also remember spending months stuck on a theoretical framework for a paper just to have it be rejected anyway. I really appreciate now having a team where I can say, hey, for this project, what do you think about this? And they're engaged and helpful and informed. Finally, leaving my job and joining a new industry taught me a lot about me. It taught me that I'm in control of my life and you're in control of your life. In my I Quit video, I said things could always be worse, but they could also be better. You have to trust yourself to make the right choice and change direction in order to experience that better part. The biggest thing I learned is that things are only as big as you make them. And at 22 or 27 or even 55, switching jobs does not have to be that big a deal. Obviously, it's a big decision and it isn't something to take lightly, but it doesn't have to be built up as this monstrous thing that only you're experiencing. Lots of people move jobs all the time. At the time of the Great Resignation, the media was building it up as if it was this big thing that all of us would regret. And I was worried that there was going to be this huge influx of YouTube videos and of the media saying, look how much they regret their jobs. We told you so. You were so wrong. But I've actually realized that if I change my attitude about it and just think, look at all of these things I've learned since I left, I'm actually in a much better place. I enjoy my job more. I feel like I'm a happier person, and I definitely think I'm more interesting to be around. As long as you don't burn too many bridges and you handle it like a responsible adult, all you're doing is navigating the job market in the way that lots of people do. If you're not sure if quitting your job is the right choice for you, you might want to watch my I Quit video where I spell out all of the signs that it might be time for you to quit your job. But what you need to remember is that you can handle it. Whatever you're thinking about, I hope it works out for you. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you want more things on productivity and work life from a behavioral scientist. Thanks, and see you in the next video.